Welcome to my podcast entitled The Wright Experience. I'm Dr. William T. Wright Jr., the founder and host of this show. Now that I'm entering my second year of this podcast, I'm extremely grateful for the responses and the support that I've been given throughout this show. We have brought and continue to bring you some amazing leaders who are doing some amazing things throughout our country. Tonight is no exception. I'm committed to continuing to seek the very best leaders that I can find. Please don't hesitate to comment, click like, subscribe to us. Just let us know that you're out there enjoying the content of this show. And for that, we'll be extremely grateful. My guest tonight is a rising star in the superintendent ranks. She is uniquely qualified for the work that she's doing, as she has a doctorate in education as well as a law degree. Her work is making room for her as she's already making strides with her school district. My guest tonight is Dr. Takeda LeGrand. Dr. Takeda LeGrand is the daughter of Pamela Knotts Rory and Roger Rory Sr. and the late Horace Huntley Jr. Her parents, paternal grandmother Juanita Huntley, and many close relatives reside in Anson County, North Carolina. She was blessed to be a part of an extended family through the love her late maternal grandparents, Clinton, Buster, and Georgia Knotts home. Today, she is the proud wife of Thomas LeGrand Jr., an Anson County native and town commissioner for the town of Wingate, and mother of Trinity, a junior biology pre-med major at Wingate University, and Taylor, a fifth grader at Fairview Elementary School. Takeda is a lifelong member of Kessler Chapel AME Zion Church, where pastor is Reverend Rodney O. Moore. Takeda is a professional educator with over 18 years of experience in education in the classroom, building, district, and state levels. She holds a doctorate of education in curriculum and instruction from Gardner-Webb University and an executive juris doctorate in school law from the Concord Law School at Purdue University Global, a Master of Arts in Teaching from North Carolina A&T State University, we'll forgive her for that, and a Bachelor of Science in Health Education from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. Dr. LeGrand has numerous licenses and certifications as a master level teacher, an administrator of executive leadership, a doctorate in curriculum educational specialist certification, an administrator, career and technical education, workforce development, and she is also a certified family and consumer sciences professional and project manager. Currently, she serves as the superintendent of Scotland County Public Schools and as an adjunct professor for and a contributing editor for the Journal of Alliance of Black School Educators. Dr. LeGrand was formerly the chief operating officer at Diversified Comprehensive Solutions, an education development focused company that she co-founded. Her external resource developments include grants, partnerships, and task force facilitation. Dr. LeGrand's favorite scripture is Isaiah 26:3. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. How about that? Sure enough, good stuff for us in this time. Welcome to the Wright Experience, Dr. LeGrand. Good to see you.
Likewise. Thank you, Dr. Wright, for the opportunity and that wonderful introduction and for giving me for my Aggie pride.
That's all. Yeah. Well, I went to Central. Don't have a degree from there, but I did go to North Carolina Central. So anytime we get to talk about that other university, we do that. But anyway.
Awesome.
Nothing but love. So, Dr. LeGrand, let's get right into the questions. Certainly, I am thrilled to have you here and have admired your work thus far. You've been doing some amazing work in Scotland County schools, and even before that, but certainly we're proud of the work that you're doing. So, talk to our viewers a little bit, if you will, about the Scotland County School District. Kind of tell us about it, and then some of the wonderful things that you have that are going on there for students and staff.
Well, thank you, Dr. Wright, and for the viewers and those who are listening, thank you for the opportunity for me to share the wonderful things that the team and the community and I are doing in Scotland County through our work with Scotland County Schools. Scotland County Schools is in Laurinburg, North Carolina. We have 10 schools. We have 5 K-5 elementary schools. We have 2 middle schools, 6-8. We have 1 primary school, a K-2 school. We have a 9-12 high school, a 6-12 alternative learning academy, and an early college. So those 10 schools, we service about 5,000 students. We employ about 900 team members, and we have numerous community partners and parents who are working with us to make sure that we're growing greatness in Scotland County. I think something I'm really proud of about today, sitting here, finishing up my first year as a superintendent of Scotland County, is that as I began as a new superintendent, it allowed me the opportunity to connect with the community. And the district was finishing up the cycle of a strategic plan. So we was able to begin a new strategic planning cycle at the same time of that work. So I feel really good about where we are with our district initiatives and where we're starting and where we're heading. Some things that we're really proud of just in this short amount of time over the past year is our focus on high dosage tutoring. I'm sure you know all too well, Dr. Wright, as many educators who may be listening, that COVID-19 has really impacted teaching and learning and how we deliver our teaching and learning services. So with that being said, we've really been focused on what the research tells us to help close achievement gaps and make sure our learners have high quality instruction. And high dosage tutoring, that model should yield us some great results. So we've partnered with NCED Core in North Carolina to make sure that we have our teachers trained on the model for high dosage tutoring, to make sure that we're implementing that model with fidelity. We have support from NCED Core. We're also able to work with them on who we bring into our buildings. So that partnership is working for us as well. We're really excited next year. We're going to actually offer a district-wide magnet program. The research also tells us that dual language immersion programs is another great way to make sure we accelerate learning. So to accelerate learning, we're going to be looking at a bilingual program for Spanish for our rising kindergartners next year. This will be a district-wide program housed at one of our schools, but it's going to be a district-wide magnet program, which means all of our incoming kindergarten students and parents will have an opportunity to apply for admissions into the program. We're also doing some great things with our community college. My community college president, Dr. Dale McGinnis, is a wonderful partner. As a result of that wonderful partnership, we're able to offer some creative options for not only our students, but our staff. We was able to receive, of course, like many districts throughout the United States, federal money to not only grow students, but to grow our staff. So we've been focusing on how do we build capacity, not only for our certified staff, but our classified staff, looking at ways we could be more efficient as an organization with regards to operations and capitalizing off that workforce development opportunity with our local community college partner, and making sure that our students are what we say graduating with a value-add high school diploma. So part of our strategic plan is that our students not only graduate with a high school diploma, we're working diligently to make sure they have a value-add credential through career and technical education, or through the community college by taking coursework that would articulate towards a degree or diploma program at the community college or one of our universities here in North Carolina.
Wow, wow, wow. You got some amazing stuff going on there, and it didn't take you long either, did it?
Well, thank you. I've had a lot of practice. I was in training for about 7 years under a great leader, Dr. Dale Ellis, over in Montgomery County.
There you go. There you go. And that's great. And sounds like your community is receptive to you doing this work and getting the ball rolling. So that's outstanding.
Thank you.
You're going to get some great results out of that, I'm sure. So, Dr. LeGrand, what has been the most surprising thing about the superintendency so far?
I think for me, from a training standpoint and being number 2 in a district and not being number 1, you don't get to see everything the superintendent goes through. It's almost like you're in a position alone. So even though you share with your team members around you, there's only one of you and nobody really knows what it's like to be you. But as I reflected on my first year, I wish I would have over communicated. Making sure that I reach out to all of my target audiences. And I would tell anyone, over communicate. I think you can never go wrong with over communicating. I would rather someone say, there's one more message from Takeda on this topic versus I wish Takeda would have gave me a message on this topic. So that would be my tip for me as I reflect on my first year in rural North Carolina.
Okay. So what needs to be done? Obviously, we have a few women of color that are in leadership roles at the superintendency. but not nearly enough. So what needs to be done, in your opinion, to recruit and retain more females of color into leadership roles?
I'm going to have to say, I know what worked for me. And I think it's similar to what we hear in all equity issues. And to those who are not impacted or just as outraged or encouraged to do something as those who are, we're not going to see change. And I'm very fortunate that I worked for Superintendent Dr. Dale Ellis, white male. But he made sure that he provided opportunities to grow and develop me as a leader. And so I do know that I am able to serve today because of the opportunities and the professional development and growth that I was provided. So we need to, one, make sure that we're providing support and opportunities to build capacity for women and for people of color to actually serve in these roles. So I'm definitely going to have to say we need to make sure we're being intentional in our efforts to be inclusive, to target and to grow and develop our leaders. That's one way. Number two, making sure that we actually promote the fact that this is okay. Women can be leaders, women can be superintendents. And as we do with teachers in our classroom, students need to see themselves. Well, leaders need to see themselves too. And making sure that we're intentional when we look at our programming. Had a friend recently to go to a conference, and when they returned, the conference was great. And I asked a question: how many people of color did you see in any of the presentations? They said 0. How many people of color did you see presenting? You said 0. And this was a person of color. So I said, how do you feel about your ability to grow in your new role and to be able to stand up there and present? And they had to really reflect on that. So I think, and I don't think it was a great conference. However, representation matters as well. So representation, opportunity, professional growth, and support.
Absolutely, absolutely. And hopefully we're going to get there, because we're going to keep pushing to try to promote equity. That's really what this conversation is about. So this fall coming up, there are going to be several new superintendents all across the state, just because of vacancies and turnover and things of that nature. So if you had the task of advising one of them, now that you've made it to the second year, starting your second year, what advice would you give them?
What works for me is family, faith, and fun. And I say, have a conversation with your family before you even apply for superintendency, because it's definitely going to be a family affair if you're a person who have a significant other, or you have people that you are dependents that you care for. Make sure you definitely have a conversation, because you're going to need their support, whether it be financially, whether it be emotionally, whether you need a cheerleader or someone to understand, or someone you can just sometimes use as a sounding board and trust. So definitely have a conversation with your family, because the hours we work, the things we have to do, we love doing them, but sometimes it may involve your family. So they need to be aware that you will have an opportunity to engage in these events, or you may be able to decline. But these are things that happen in the parameter of the job and the duties of a superintendent, because you are a community servant, which means you will serve the community. And it may not be a typical 9 to 5. So just making sure you have the support from your family. The other thing is your faith, because with the politics of education, for me, so many different things going on, you have to be grounded in who you are, and you can't operate in fear. And to be honest with you and totally transparent, the first few months of my superintendency, I was operating in fear, but I had to recenter and refocus myself and understand who I am and whose I am, and why I do the work that I do. And that this is just more than service to me. This is actually my ministry. This is my calling. This is what my job is here. I truly believe my job on earth is to serve others through education. So if I truly believe that, I have to operate in that authority. So my faith keeps me grounded. My family is my support system. And I say have fun, because while we do handle serious matters, if you can't find anything to laugh about, or you don't have a network of other supers or friends that you can actually laugh about things as you reflect on things, and be okay with not getting it right the first time, it can be extremely stressful and draining. And you need to be your best self all day, every day, because children are literally dependent on us, because the decisions we make will impact the trajectory of their life and generations to come. And I'm living proof of that as a product of public schools education, where what we can do when we use a village mentality to support our learners, they can grow and become great leaders. So it matters what we do every day, and we need to be our best selves.
So family, faith, and fun.
Yes.
They say I'm pretty good at that last one particularly.
Awesome. I believe that.
All right. So what kinds of things do you do to grow as a leader, in terms of professional development, but also maybe mentors or whatever? How do you continue to grow as a leader?
I definitely make sure a dear friend of mine and mentor, Dr. Athea Patton Smith, 90 plus years old. When I first entered into education administration, she said, make sure you read, and you don't need anybody else to read for you. You need to read and interpret information for yourself. So I always make sure I read, because people can interpret things differently. So I always make sure I read. I try to make sure I'm citing research, evidence-based practices with a little bit of innovation. Professional development. I do know that professional development and those opportunities for us to invest in ourselves. And sometimes we may say we are too busy and we don't have time. Today, the fact that I'm actually at a conference now for professional development, I know that I feel like I may be a teacher who had a sub in class who wished I was in the classroom, because when I return, I'm going to have just as much work to do because I was out of the classroom. But you got to invest in yourself so you can continue to grow and support the leaders around you and bring the best possible ideas and resources to your school district and your community. So professional development is definitely important, and definitely making sure that you read and network, because there's no need to reinvent the wheel if someone else already has a version of the wheel that you can adapt or adopt.
Right. And the amazing thing about it, speaking of the conference, we're at a national superintendents conference, and it's amazing how similar situations are from district to district, state to state. Sometimes I even talked with someone today that was from overseas, working overseas, and some of the same challenges that they have with, trying to rebound and, be innovative in practice and so forth. And so it is good, of course, to network and springboard off of what you hear others are doing. That's amazing. That's right. So, Dr. LeGrand, let's talk a little bit about this. So you have the unique distinction, or at least I've not heard of it often, of having a doctorate in education and a Juris Doctorate. Is that right? So
yes.
How do you think your Juris Doctorate has helped you as a superintendent?
Great question, Dr. Wright. The executive Juris Doctorate that I have with the focus in school law has helped me not only as a professional, but as a person.
Right.
One, it taught me to be more understanding of the Americans with Disability Act and people or children who may qualify for services under the Americans with Disability Act. It also taught me to look at things from multiple perspectives. And in the superintendent seat, I think sometimes we have issues with communication and moving agendas forward because we have varying ideas about how to get there, but our outcome is still the same. So I've learned in this seat, you have to be flexible about how you're going to get from point A to point B, but the goal is to get to point B. And having the opportunity to debate and to write for and against different things, it teaches you to understand other people's perspective. While philosophically or my religious beliefs may be different, I can still understand the other person's point of view, and I can utilize that information to at least have a healthy dialogue and healthy discourse so we can move forward to a resolution on a matter. So it has been very good to help me with regards to the communication and the political piece and the advocacy piece for our students, as well as our team members who sometimes may be marginalized because of things that are beyond their control.
Absolutely. Outstanding. And that does give you a unique perspective, I believe. And that's very valuable in the work that you do. So I've noticed that you place a lot of emphasis on wellness activities for leaders. You didn't know I knew that about you, I'm sure, but I do. So why is that so important in your opinion, and what do you suggest for leaders who maybe are addressing wellness initially?
Well, my original background and love interest was in health education and primary and
Oh,
secondary prevention of disease and illnesses. So I've always had an interest in making sure that the choices we make improve the quality of our life and outcomes. So that was innately in me. But what I've noticed is when you get into higher level administration positions and you go to leadership trainings, oftentimes people are talking about, communication and self-care and your emotional health. And we've got to be intentional in placing ourselves first, because a leader who is not well cannot function and serve well. So we've got to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do to take care of not only our physical bodies, but this job can be very taxing on the mental state of a person, because you're making decisions that are impacting people, sometimes people incomes, children choices about where they go to school. Sometimes when people make mistakes, you've got to you've got to hold a policy. You've got to adhere to North Carolina general statute and federal law. I mean, there's no way around those things. And you do know that you do those things with integrity, but at the end of the day, there's a person, there's a family that's going to be impacted. And how do you help yourself deal with those things? And the best thing you can do is to be your best self every day. And self-care for us is definitely a focus in Scotland County. I'm very proud of my communications and public relations specialist, Mr. Dave Wells. I started a Wednesday wellness walk where we just stop at lunchtime at our central office for 15 minutes and we just go for a walk around town. We look at shops, we find things to do. And when I'm not able to do now, the mark of a real leader is you can build leaders among leaders. So I missed a few Wednesdays. So I had a team member to say, "You want me to take this over?" I was like, "Well, thank you." Because at the end of the day, we want that opportunity to continue. We were very fortunate that we have a school board who also believes in wellness and self-care. We was able to provide our staff with a remote work day to focus on their self-care and their emotional health. So emotional health for me as a person and a professional is extremely important, because we want people to be their best selves every day. And part of that not only begins with your physical health, but it also begins with your mental health.
Outstanding. I might steal that one from you. I like that walking Wednesdays. That's great stuff. Great
Yes,
stuff. Promotes unity and a little bit of everything, I'm sure.
it does. It
Absolutely.
does.
Yeah, that's outstanding. So, Dr. LeGrand, is there anything that I have not covered that you'd like to share with our audience?
I'm just really thankful for the team that I work with, because I'm one person and we know it takes many people working together in unity every day to create sustaining change. And that's what we're working towards in Scotland County. So I'm so thankful to have an executive leadership team, a board of education, school leaders, teachers, community members, business people who are all working together. Now, we may not always agree about the road to get there, but we're literally working together to make sure that we're increasing opportunities and quality opportunities for all of our students and staff.
That is a great place to be in when you have people that are buying into the vision. Here in Hertford County, we call that all in for learning.
Great. Now I may have to borrow that one.
You can get it. You can get it.
Thank
For sure.
you.
But thank you so much for being here, Dr. LeGrand. If you hold on for a minute, we'll come back and close out the show.
Thank you, Dr. Wright.
My guest next week is going to be Mr. Odell Taylor, who is an account representative for Harcourt, Mifflin, and he will be on the show along with a guest, and they're going to talk to us a little bit about some of the same kind of topic, wellness and good leadership, and give us some real tips on how to be better. So excited about that show. Mr. Taylor is a resident of Atlanta, Georgia, so we're certainly excited about having him be aboard the Wright Experience next week. That'll be next week, a week from today, which is February 24th, 2022, and it'll be at 7 o'clock p.m. Dr. LeGrand, I just want to thank you so very, very much for being a part of this podcast. I was looking forward to it. I knew that you would do extremely well and give us some good leadership tips and pointers. And you have even exceeded my expectations. And so thank you.
Well, thank you. I hope you'll have me back in the future.
I will. I will book you back in the future. That's a promise from me to you.
Thank you, received. I appreciate your work.
And thank you for the Wright Experience audience. Thank you for